Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace. This journey from the unreal to the real, how do you do that? Lead us from the unreal to the real. So, can you walk across? Can you take that little platform across from the real to the unreal? Is it a journey in space? Across space?
No.
From the real to the unreal? An unreal world to a real heaven or something?
No.
Somewhere else? Here and there? No. These are simple things, but it's important to know. It's important to know what we are seeking in spiritual life. Moksha, nirvana, salvation, whatever you call it, enlightenment is here. Wherever you go, it is there. Is it a journey in time? Now it's unreal, and then later on, after death, or after samadhi, or after something else, it will become real. After enlightenment, it will become real. Now you don't seem so sure. No, it's not a journey in time neither. No. It's not only here, it's now. It's always present. By it I mean the real. From the unreal to the real. Is it one thing from one thing to another? From a worldly life to a heavenly life, or from a secular life to quote unquote a spiritual life? Is it that? So it's not a journey in space. It's not a journey in time. It's not a journey from one thing to another. Actually, it's more precise in Sanskrit. Desha Kala Vastu. Desha means space, Kala means time, Vastu means object, things. None of these are pertinent to the journey from the unreal to the real. Lead us from the unreal to the real. And what is this journey? How? Correct. It's a journey from ignorance to knowledge. What are lead us from what to what? From ignorance to knowledge. That's what the prayer is for. We do not know, we do not realize it. We have to know it, we have to realize it. That's what's called enlightenment. So, the journey from the unreal to the real is not across space, it's not across time, it's not from one thing to another, but rather it is a journey in knowledge, from ignorance to knowledge, from not knowing to knowing, from being asleep to waking up. The story of the Buddha, that I am the awakened. Not a man becoming a god, no. It's from being asleep to waking up. Lead us from darkness unto light. Again, it's a journey from ignorance to knowledge. From darkness to light, ignorance to knowledge. From death to immortality. There are all these nice stories in the Indian mythology of the Amrita, the nectar, which the gods and the demons and they all sought and the men sought, so that if you drink it, you become immortal. So, lead us from death to immortality. So, is it a quest for nectar? Those are symbolic things. We should have maybe then, like we have lemonade and orange juice and cranberry juice, and one more nectar, so you can fill up on that. And that's not so fun either, because there are millions, literally hundreds of millions being spent right now by billionaires from Silicon Valley on anti-aging. I mean, the owners of Google and Facebook and everything, They sort of feel, now we've done it all. We are billionaires at the age of 21 or something like that. And the world is at our feet. We own the world. We have conquered everything that has to be conquered. Now only thing is death. So let's put, since we are successful in doing everything, we should be able to overcome death also. So let's become immortal. So they are searching for that, the juice of immortality. Is it that? Is some substance you ingest and you become immortal? No. Again, it's a journey from ignorance to knowledge. We already are immortal, we do not know it. We have to awaken to our immortal nature. How do you do that? That's what we are studying here. Awaken into the awareness that you are immortal. The world is changeful. You are real. The world is unreal. It's an appearance. Awaken to that reality. Let me use our familiar example, which we have become familiar with. When I talk about the forest in the lake. Remember, I am not interested in the forest or the lake, or the forest in the lake. It's an example. We're talking about you and the universe. So when you look at the forest in the lake there, pick out any one tree in that reflected forest. Imagine that the tree there thinks that I am a tree. And I'm born and I grow and I die and in this dank or dark forest, and I'm so full of misery, and there are these other bigger trees than me. I'm jealous of them, and there are these tiny little creepers at the root who are just losers, I'm contemptuous of them. Some trees are nice, they are my friends, and so forth. And this is samsara. This is samsara. Then it happens to overhear a Vedanta class going on across the lake. And it is told that you are wrong entirely. You are not a tree. You are the lake. It's the lake, isn't it? When you look at a tree there in the lake, what is it? Is it a tree or the lake?
The lake.
It's the lake, it's the water. You are not a tree at all. Step back from your tree nature into your lake nature. First of all, the reflected tree has to understand what is the lake nature. You are supposed to show that poor thing water. Look around you, it's water. Look above you, it's water. Look below you, it's water. Look in you, through and through, it's just water. The tree appears there. You are not a tree. Step back from the tree nature into the water nature, then you will see that you are Loon Lake. In the same way, when we see we are the body, I am a body mind. That's exactly like that thing thinking it's a tree. It's not a tree. Never was, never will be. It's always the lake. Now we are not being taught that you're a lake. You are rather the lake of consciousness. You are the ocean of consciousness. I am an infinite ocean of consciousness. In me the body-mind appears. Never am I, even when the body-mind is appearing, I am not the body-mind. Step back from the tree nature into the lake nature. Step back from the body-mind nature into the witness consciousness nature. Okay? This is God stepping back from the unreal to the real. Stepping back from darkness unto light. Stepping back from death into immortality. That's what we have been doing. There is a word in Sanskrit called udasina. In Gita also you find udasina. It's there in almost all Indian languages. The word is like this. In most Indian languages, Hindi or Bengali, the ones I know at least, or Oriya, the ones I know, and I know many of the other Indian languages have it. This word is from Sanskrit. Usually it is used to mean indifferent, neutral. Is this right? In Hindi, in Bengali, and any other language? So, udasina means indifferent, neutral. But if you go to the original Sanskrit root, there's often the philosophical subtleties are lost when it comes into common usage. But if you go to the Sanskrit root, asina means to sit, sitting. Ut means above. It's not just being indifferent, neutral, don't care. No. yourself above. You're sitting on a higher seat. Udasina means what? Means above. Asina is sitting. Sitting above. Sit above. Make a habit of sitting above. Above this world. How do you sit above this world? The world is unreal, an appearance, like the forest in the lake. You are the real lake, the existence, consciousness, bliss. Sit on reality. Not on unreality, not in the midst of unreality. That is sitting above. Sit, notice that you are awareness, and everything you have noticed in life, everything that you have experienced in life is non-conscious, insentient, not aware. You are awareness. Notice that. Sit in your awareness nature and notice that the world is an object of awareness, not aware. You are aware of the world. Nobody is objecting. At this point somebody should object and say that, what do you mean I have not seen anything sentient? All these people sitting around, are they not sentient? Are they zombies? What do you think? But I said something very precise. The only awareness that you have ever experienced in your life is within you, is you. And everything else that you experience is an object of that awareness. I said that. And I stand by that statement. Look around you. All these people you say sitting around you, what do you experience? Do you experience their awareness? I'm not saying that they are not aware. But I'm saying that do you experience their awareness or do you experience the body?
The body.
The body. You experience the behavior. You experience their language. If you are a telepath, you would experience their thoughts. Even then you would not experience their awareness. Awareness is never an object, but it is ever the illuminer of objects. Awareness is never an object. You cannot see awareness, touch awareness, taste awareness, smell awareness. You cannot even think of awareness, really speaking. Swami, aren't we thinking about awareness? No. The moment you think about it, it becomes an object of awareness. You're conceptualizing. Even Vedanta is conceptualizing. But all the concepts shine in awareness. Sit above, sit in awareness. Big thing. Sitting in awareness means not sitting in the body. It means not sitting in the mind. You're sitting above body and mind. Above, I don't mean physically. I mean metaphysically. Take your seat in awareness. The world is dukkha, mrityu, dukkha, death and sorrow and suffering and limitation and frustration. That's the world, that's samsara. Sit above in your ananda swarupa. You are bliss. Every bit of bliss in this world is a reflection of the bliss that you have within you, the ocean of bliss that you are. Sit in your ananda swarupa. Sit above.
That's how you become indifferent, in a way.
That indifference is a true spiritual indifference. Because otherwise indifference can be misunderstood. Yeah. As callousness, not caringness, as just being brutal, not sensitive. You can be fully sensitive, you can be fully caring, you can be fully engaged in society and doing good to others, but you sit above. And this sitting above is not imagination. Now you are sitting in reality. Earlier you were in imagination. You are living a half-awake life. Like the Buddha said, I am awakened. Meaning thereby, the rest of you are not. Awaken into your real nature is the same as sitting above. Okay. That's what the diagram showed. The diagram which we did yesterday. The big sea, which is also Sat, Chit, Ananda. This is Chit. Also what the word used by Vidyaranya, Samvit, same thing. Often, when I would teach in the monastery in Belur Mutt, the brahmacharis, the novices, of course they are wonderful young men, they have come to become monks, so they are really a very unique and very nice bunch. But they are also students, and with the students they are mischievous. So they would sometimes make fun. Brahman, where is Brahman? Don't you know? He is in Sarvapriyananda's class on the left side of the board. Always on the left side of the board. That's Brahman. You can always find Brahman there. And some of them would ask, when I draw that, I'm not good at drawing, so when I draw that, somebody would ask, what's that? A centipede? A centipede. It's supposed to be something like a sun. So, and this is ignorance, Maya, avidya, Maya. Now you know, causal body, then comes subtle body. And you know the subtle body has 17 parts. Don't worry, I'm not going to add it. It's pretty easy. 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs, 5 pranas, mind and intellect, 17 parts. Or you can say the subtle body has 3 koshas, 3 sheets. The sheet of life, pranamaya kosha, vital sheet. The mind sheet, manomaya kosha, and the intellect sheet. Same thing. That's the subtle body. Usually I say mind, but now I'm being more precise because we have read all that. And there is of course a little consciousness here. This is a small seed, which you feel aware now. And then you have the physical body. So, usually this is what I think about myself. Even this one I don't really acknowledge. It's only when it's pointed out in a Vedanta class, yes, in deep sleep I have some sort of existence. That's deep sleep. Causal body. And this is the gross body. And of course outside, there are the hills, there's Loon Lake, and there is the forests and you know, whatever. There's the world, and there's the body, and here is the mind, and beyond that the darkness of deep sleep. Causal body, subtle body, gross body. The world outside. Of course, this is also the world. Body, mind also is the world. Let's call it the external world. Alright. Now what did I just say? Step back from the unreal nature into your real nature. This is existence. This is an appearance. Step back from the tree reflection into the water. Whom are we telling? The reflected tree. You are not a reflected tree. You are the Loon Lake itself. Step back. Step back from object into consciousness. Darkness to light. Step back from death and sorrow. Here there is death and sorrow because there is change, continuous change. There is death and sorrow and limitation and suffering. Step back from that into Ananda, the source of bliss. And watch the world, and experience the world, and do whatever you have to do with the body and the mind, as long as the body lasts. Do it in full joy. You are not worried about a little nail. Every other day you pare off your nails. The body is exactly like that. And I'm quoting Swamiji, a remarkable passage which I only recently noticed. Swami Vivekananda says, the subtle body, these are the exact words he used, subtle body grows a physical body, much like the physical body itself grows hair and nails. At one time, this is used up, unusable, it drops up, and the subtle body goes on and to other lives and grows other bodies. Grows within quotes, it's not literally grows, it gets a body. But you step back, and this stepping back, remember, this stepping back is not a physical stepping back. I'm not asking you to jump out of your body. It's always, remember, it's a stepping back in knowledge, from ignorance to knowledge. How can the reflected tree become water? How can the reflected tree there become water? By knowing it, isn't it? It is water. It just looks like a tree. The reflected tree in the lake right now. If you go and say, do a little bit of Vedanta there and say that you are not a tree, you are the lake. If the tree asks you, so-called tree within quotes, asks you, how do I become a lake? What will you say? If the tree asks you, you just see that it's water. You are water. It's water around you, water above you, water inside you, water outside you. In fact, there's nothing like a tree in you at all. There's no tree there. It's just water. And when you see that you are water, you are this water. You are the lake itself. It's seeing, it's understanding, it's realizing, it's waking up. Do you see that? That's very important. Otherwise, the tree will ask, oh, all that's nice, but give me some practices. What do I pray to become water? What meditations should I do? And what yoga exercises should I do to become water? It has to be seen. Otherwise, you're just prolonging the journey. Remember, I'm not against yoga exercises or meditation or prayer. All those are very good and in fact even essential. Very helpful. Very helpful. But helpful to what? Helpful to this waking up. This waking up is essential. And Advaita Vedanta is about this waking up. Alright, having said this, let's go forward. This is not Advaita Vedanta. The next shocker. Have you noticed something weird? If you have followed me closely on that example of the lake and the reflected forest and the tree. When I say step back from the tree nature into the lake nature, I'm speaking as if there is really a tree and really a lake. Right? This diagram also is misleading. It's for the purpose of understanding that we have done this. But this is not Advaita. It looks like there is the big sea, and there is Maya, and the subtle body, and the gross body, and the whole wide world. It looks like that in the diagram. This is not true. Is it true in the lake that there is a forest and a lake? Is it true?
No.
There's no forest.
Only a few seem convinced. The rest are either, yeah, you're just stating the obvious, go on. Or, what is he talking about? Why does he keep jumping back between forests and lakes and consciousness and world? Tell me with conviction, that reflected forest in the lake. In the lake, is there a forest?
No.
No.
No, there is no forest there. Good. It has to be said. You see, what's so great about that? You know what you just said? In me, the awareness, there is no universe. That's what you just said. In me, the awareness, there is no universe. It looks like that. It looks like a forest. It's the lake through and through. It's consciousness through and through. Therefore, once you step back from body, mind, from gross body, subtle body, causal body, not me, not me, not me, neti, neti, neti. Once you step back into the reality, into the consciousness, into Ananda, then expand forth again and see that all you step back from, causal body, subtle body, gross body, the lake and all the people around and the birds and the sky and the universe, all of it, the good, the bad, all of it is me. Every tree in that lake is the lake. There is no tree, it's the lake. There is no universe, it's you. This universe is full of you. This universe is in you. This universe is you. And yet, this is a magic. You are not the universe. To understand this, the forest is in the lake. The forest is full of the lake. And the forest is nothing but the lake. But the lake is not a forest. Right? Yes. This is Advaita Vedanta. Now let me modify the diagram to show you the truth.
Whole go around.
Yes. Now you can do the diagram too. It's not like this. This is not what Advaita says. What Advaita says is this. Is this. Yes. All of it is Sat, Chit, Ananda. But be careful, you cannot do this directly. You must step back from it into Satchidananda and then look at the world again and see it as Satchidananda. Now there are not two. Earlier in the diagram there were two. It was a plural universe. Consciousness and subtle bodies and gross bodies and lakes and trees and whatnot. But now it's not two. It's one consciousness. It's only you, non-dual.
What about that small c now?
It's still there?
When I am seeing from the above that.
Yes, you will still see it. Look at the sun. When it shines down on a pot of water,
So it is.
you will see that there's a reflection of me there.
Mine.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what is the reflection? It's this person. You are no longer this person. But after that, this little person will continue. That little person is that small c. It will continue. How long will it continue? As long as the mind continues.
Okay.
When the mind dissolves in deep sleep, when the mind dissolves after mukti, you are not there anymore. But you are never there. You are always pure consciousness. You are the one reality filling this entire universe through and through. Alright. You have a question?
Maharaj, maybe everybody has understood this, and I apologize for being the worst student in the class. But please forgive me. When you say, I understand everything that you've said, and then when we come back and you use the analogy of the reflection on the lake, it's all understood. However, the reflection is not real, but those trees.
I sense a big but coming there.
Yeah, this is the but. However, the trees are real. The trees that are reflected in the water are real. So too, is that then, of course, maybe connected, I suppose, to the subtle body and the things that we see that are palpable?
Yeah. All that you have to do is let go of the trees on the bank. You see, I'm using it as an example. No, you must let go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's happening is you keep thinking tree and reflection. So this is a real tree and a reflected tree. No. There it is. In the example it is there. But what we are applying it to, remember, that's why I said certain things you must notice what I said. I have given up saying reflected forest. I am saying forest in the lake. The moment you say reflected forest, you think what's being reflected?
So,
the reason this is happening is the lake, the water is an insentient entity.
Yes.
It cannot generate images within itself. But consciousness can generate images within itself. Pure consciousness generates by its own power of Maya this entire universe, the appearance of this universe. None of it is appear. So that's why that example is nice. The forest which is reflected in the lake, that forest in the lake. You forget what's above the lake. Look at the lake and the forest in the lake. Look at how remarkable it is. It's appearing, yet it's not there. It's not there in the lake.
so this presupposes that there is a forest. That's why there's a lake. There's a reflection. Would it not be? You also use the wave analogy, where there are waves in the lake, and there is no confusion there because waves we can relate to.
Yes.
And but you can apply the same. You have applied the same analogy in that case also.
Yes.
So in this class for this retreat, you're using the other analogy, and I'm kind of wondering why. Just because the lake is there and
Because the lake is available and it's so nice and so vivid.
yeah. Okay.
Yes. Remember, again and again I point out, examples are very good for pointing out Advaitic truths, but it's not about lakes, not about waves, not about anything like that. It's about you, the awareness, and this universe you're aware of. That's what it is about. So whenever you use examples, Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Upama Agdishi, which means an example is meant to point out one thing alone. An example is used to illustrate something. An example will not fit the exemplified totally. Otherwise then it wouldn't be an example. So, for example, when you say, as brave as a lion, the person is as brave as it's like a lion. But what do you mean? Will you ask, why did you say it's like a lion? He does not go around on all fours and jump on people and eat them up. No, all this figure of speech means is that the person is brave as a lion. It's just a way of speaking. He has a bulldog tenacity. But he doesn't look like a bulldog. You don't keep him on a leash. So we say, no, that's not what I meant. I meant only the tenacity part of it. Do you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a natural tendency to extend the example too much. Don't. Don't. And I'll come to you. It's also a sign of a skillful teacher who can point out where the example applies and where it does not apply. Snake rope, it applies in one sense. The clay and pot, or gold and ornament, water and wave, applies in another sense. The waves, because of the action of wind, the lake breaks out into ripples and waves. So are you saying that Brahman breaks out into the universe because of the wind or something like that? Does Brahman develop the universe like a rash or something like that? No, not at all, not at all. What does the wave and the lake analogy prove? What is it meant to show? It's meant to show that the wave is nothing but the lake. Wave is nothing but water. Every bit of the wave is water. That's all, nothing else. In Sanskrit it's called upadana, the material which constitutes something. The material which constitutes the wave is nothing but water. The material which constitutes a gold necklace is nothing but gold. But ultimately Brahman has nothing to do with being worn around the neck or something. Nothing. It's nothing to do with that. Because people misunderstand. A goldsmith came and melted the gold and beat it into the form of a necklace. And now it's a necklace. So has somebody come and melted Brahman into this world and now it's the world? That's not the point at all. The one and only point that the Upanishads talk about when they talk about clay and pot, gold and ornament, water and wave, is that the substance of the universe is consciousness. Just as the substance of those trees in the lake, not outside. The substance of the trees in the lake is water. Okay, we are on the same page now.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to be absolutely certain. So these different examples apply to different lessons, different perspectives on a slightly different subject.
Points to be mentioned about Brahman, yes.
Right. So that was confusing to me. That I was thinking about the reality of the trees, and the lake is the reflection.
Yes.
The lake is, but that applies to something else, another lesson, something else, some other point that you're trying to illustrate.
Could be. But in the case of Brahman and the universe, that's why the only problem with using the tree, and this is the trap many people fall into, they keep concentrating on the trees outside, up there. Forget that, that's not part of the example.
Yeah, right. For this.
Look at I'm again and again saying, look at the forest in the lake.
In this instance, for this.
For the purposes of illustrating this.
In this lesson.
Yes, this point, yeah.
But not. That would illustrate another point. Reality, trees, illusion, reflection in lake. That's
Could be.
another lesson.
Yes, it could be used. Yes.
Basically then, the Brahma is absolutely Shanta unless the Shakti starts the working.
Brahman is absolutely peaceful and quiescent unless Shakti
Yes. Is it?
does what?
I mean, that is Brahma, basically the consciousness, it is not moving.
No, it does not move. Consciousness is unchanging. It is only in the realm of Maya that we have changed. And, you should add, it's not that there is an unchanging consciousness and a changing Maya, then you're back to Sankhya.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is an unchanging consciousness in which there is an appearance of change.
Contains Maya.
And also not. It's like saying the river contains the lake contains the forest. Yes. And if you say the lake does not contain a forest, yes. It enables the appearance of a forest. Alright, now the teaching is going ahead. Remember, the Guru is teaching the student. So the next part of the teaching is, the Guru says, now you are ready to understand the meaning of the great saying, that thou art. We are back to the old diagram again. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Remember, sometimes I say Big C, and sometimes I say Satchidananda or some other name, Brahman. Don't be confused, it's all the same. And then there is Maya or Avidya, and there is a subtle body and a gross body, and not just one, there are many of these. And the word outside. Okay. Now when you say Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. This is the great saying from the Chandogya Upanishad, one of the ancient Upanishads. In the Chandogya Upanishad, in the 6th chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, the teacher, who's actually the father, tells his son, who is a student, that thou art. I mean, the story goes this way, that the son has been sent off to a school to learn the Vedas and all such stuff. And then, after many years, comes back, very proud of his learning. Yeah, I know a lot. And what does this old man know? I mean, his father. That kind of attitude. And the father sees in the distance that the boy is proud. And so, in order to show him that he is not really all that great, he asks him this question. Son, in your school, when you went off to college, did your guru, your teacher, teach you that thing by knowing which all things are known? Have you acquired that knowledge? Eka vijnanena sarvamidam vijnatam bhavati. By knowing that knowledge, you will know everything here. Here means this word. Here means starting from here to here. Everything. So everything is known by knowing one thing. And the boy thinks, how is that possible? By knowing one subject, one knows only one thing, that subject. If you know Sanskrit, you know Sanskrit. If you know metallurgy, you know metallurgy. If you know archery, you know archery. But by knowing Sanskrit, one doesn't know everything. By knowing one branch of knowledge, one cannot know everything. How is that possible? Then the father goes on to teach that it is possible. When you know the substance, the material out of which many things are built, the one material out of which many things are built, the one clay out of which many pots and pans are fashioned, pots and jars and such are fashioned, then you know the reality of all those pots and pans. If you know the one material, gold, out of which a variety of ornaments may be made, then you know the truth of all the variety of ornaments if you know gold. So what does that mean? If you know the substance, the material out of which many things are made, then that one thing, knowing that one thing, that material, the cause, the material cause, all the effects are known. Now immediately you must realize, if you know it's gold, and if the goldsmith makes lots of ornaments out of gold, then what is it that you know and what is it that you do not know? You know that whatever you may make out of that gold, it will be gold, right? But what particular design it will be, what name you will give, what brand will it have, and what fancy thing you can think of, that depends upon the creativity of the goldsmith. I won't know. But whatever the goldsmith does, I can predict right now, it will still be gold and nothing else. Assuming the goldsmith is honest. It will be gold and nothing else. No matter in what different forms the lake breaks out into waves, you know, whatever happens, it's water. It's water. So knowing one thing, the material cause, one knows multiple effects, but knows the reality of those effects. One may not know the name and form. Name and forms, there can be infinite variety. In that way, there is one thing in this universe by knowing which everything in the universe is known, in that sense alone. That's why people ask, a Brahmagyani, does he know physics and neuroscience and rocket science and psychology and all the languages of the world? Does he know? You say he knows everything? Does he know?
No.
Yes and no. He knows all of that is nothing but Brahman.
Yes.
Yeah. In that sense, whatever branch of knowledge you have, it is Brahman basically. But the details, he may or may not know. May have to pick it up. So we have to pick it up just like anybody else, but by going to the library and reading a book or, you know. Vivekananda attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He was a Brahmagyani, knower of Brahman. So why did he have to read so many books? So, the details, if you want to know, the details in Maya, you have to follow the same process as anybody else. What confuses the issue is that there are yogis who have extraordinary powers and they seem to know many more things extraordinarily. So people think by being enlightened you will be like that. You will know a lot of details about everything. That is through certain yogic powers, and it is possible to attain certain amount of extraordinary knowledge. It has nothing to do with enlightenment. Okay. So having said that, now the father tells the son that there is one thing by knowing which you will know everything in the universe. Just as by knowing clay one knows all products of clay. By knowing gold one knows all products of gold. By knowing iron one knows all the implements made of iron. Just like that. What is that? He calls it Sat, being itself, existence itself. It is Sat alone. Because of Maya it appears like this, the universe. But when it appears as the universe, it is still Sat alone. When the clay appears as a pot, what is the pot? Clay. Is it form? It's a form which has been given to clay. Can the form exist hand by itself in the air?
No.
No. Take the clay away from the form. What will happen to the form?
Nothing.
Disappear. You know, our immediate tendency is to protest and say that, look, clay is a formless lump. And you give it a particular form, it becomes a pot. Now follow this carefully. So I will argue a pot is the clay plus the pot form. But the Vedantin will say, here's the problem. The Vedantin will say, no. The clay was clay and the pot is also clay. You might say, no, it's plus form. You are making a mistake here. Plus form is nothing real in itself. Plus means you are adding something to it, right? Yeah, the potter added a form to it. Added. Be careful how you're using the word added. If it has been added, then let me take away my clay. Show me your form. Nothing has been added to it. No thing has been added to it. Right? A form is not a thing. A form is not reality in itself. It depends on the material to give it reality. Look at the forest in the river again. When the forest appears, you'd say, it's the lake plus the form of a forest. But is it really anything other than the lake? No. Similarly, it's nothing other than Sat, pure existence, all of this. Names and forms appear because of Maya and disappear again. Just like that forest in the lake appears at daytime and disappears at night time. Okay. Yes.
How would you differentiate the Buddhist concept of nirvana with realization?
Okay, hold on to that thought. This moksha of Advaita Vedanta and the Buddhist nirvana, how would you distinguish? Hold on to that thought, ask it later. It's a more general question. We'll finish this. We are now in the midst of discussing that thou art. The analysis is this. So, now let's see. What the father told the student was, what the father told his son, was that just as gold appears as different forms and different ornaments, it's still gold. Clay appears as different pots and jars, it's still clay. In the same way, Sat, pure existence, appears as this universe. It's still Sat, pure existence. Though there are names and forms. You see it, but you see it all in Sat, in pure existence, in pure being. Now, the student might go, okay, good for Sat, but what about me? What does it mean to me? And the father says, that thou art. Tat Tvam Asi. That meaning? Sat. Exactly. Good. That Sat is what you, my boy, You are this Sat. You think of yourself as a young man, my son, who has graduated from school and coming back and so full of himself. But actually, you and I and the mountains and forests and this ashram and everything are that Sat. Tat Tvam Asi. There is a technical process of understanding this. It's called a Mahavakya, great saying. Let me quickly run you through that. We don't have much time, and the technicalities are not so important. One can study that later. But let me just tell you in brief. Remember, in Vedanta we saw this Satchidananda, that exists, Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara. Brahman plus Avidya, ignorance. Avidya literally means ignorance. Is equal to Jiva, Prajna or Jiva. Okay. Now, here is the analysis. Actually, when you go to a non-dualistic text, Advaita Vedanta text, this is how they will analyze. I'll quickly run through it. If you follow, good. Enjoy. If you don't follow, it's not important. You can always study later. Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, that and thou. That in Vedanta refers to Ishvara. This is that. Thou refers to you or I, individual. Jiva. Thou. So that thou art refers to you, my boy, you are God. Because Ishvara is God. Now, right at this moment you can ask, didn't you say that refers to Brahman? Now you are saying that refers to Brahman plus Maya. You see, technically there is a problem. If you say that refers to Brahman, first of all, no word can refer to Brahman directly. No word can directly refer to Brahman. Because Brahman is supposed to be beyond language. How can any word mean Brahman? So, but words can mean God. You can refer to religious texts are full about talking about God. So, that's one problem. And the second problem is, look at the imbalance in this statement. If you say thou, you are this person, body, mind. And that refers to pure consciousness. How can it be? This is on this side of Maya, that's on that side of Maya. If you want to balance the statement, you will talk about this individual and the totality on this side of Maya. God and the individual, both are on the same side of Maya, both are equivalent terms. And you're saying you and God are the same. You and Ishvara are same. You are and Brahman, so Brahman here or Tat here refers to not Nirguna Brahman, pure consciousness, but Ishvara, God. That's the approach it takes. The direct meaning of Tat will be Ishvara, the direct meaning of Tvam, thou, will be Jiva, individual, you and God. Immediately that leads to problems. Because obviously you are not God. I am not Vishnu or Shiva or the Father in heaven or Allah. No. In fact, this is exactly why dualists get enormously upset with us. They say, how dare you claim that you are God? It's sacrilegious. It's sacrilegious to claim that you are God. There is a great difference between individual and God. Between me and God is a great difference. And yet the sentence seems to suggest I am God. How do you resolve this? This is the process. I'm leading you through the process. Why is there a difference? Well, the texts will tell you, God is omniscient. And how much do you know? Very little. And that too you'll forget very soon. God is all powerful. How powerful are you? Very weak. A little difference in temperature makes you uncomfortable. A little more difference in temperature would obliterate your existence in this world. Right? So, God is all, tripta, fully satisfied, full of bliss. And we are, how many times we've been dissatisfied since the morning? If the food is late, is off by 10 minutes, we'll be dissatisfied. So, how can you be God? God is all pervading. No matter how overweight you are, you can't be all pervading. You're just a little more than pervading than others. But so the individual and God cannot be the same. There are enormous differences between God and individual. It's crazy to say that you are God. It's delusional. So now the next step is the statements of the Upanishads cannot be wrong because they are revealed statements, they are realizations of the rishis. So it must mean something. What does it mean? Now in language, in philosophy, when a statement does not work, the terms do not match, the direct meaning does not apply. The procedure is to take an implied meaning. The procedure is to take an implied meaning. What is the implied meaning? The implied meaning of thou, start with thou. The implied meaning of thou is investigate what you are. Investigate what you are. If you investigate what you are, by the process of the method of agreement and difference which we did yesterday, now you'll see the link between this and what we did yesterday. That's why the teacher taught that method. Are you really, my boy, are you really body, mind and causal body, subtle body, causal body, gross body? Are you really this? Because in dream you exist, but you don't experience the physical body. Because in deep sleep you are there in some sense, but you don't experience subtle body and causal and the physical body. And in the samadhi you don't experience the causal body, and yet you are there. So you are not this body, you are not this one, you are not this one. You can only be the witness consciousness, pure consciousness. This is the implied meaning of the term thou. I'll repeat. Direct meaning of the term thou is this. Implied meaning of the term thou is this. Actually, I'll have to be more technically correct here. The direct meaning of the term thou is this. Right? Pure consciousness limited by avidya, limited by a mind, limited by a body. And the implied meaning of thou is this, without the limitations. How did you come here? By the method of analysis of the 5 sheets, by the method of agreement and difference, by the method of drishya viveka, by the method of avasthatraya, waking, dreaming and deep sleep. Any of these methods you take up, and you come to the realization you are the witness consciousness, not an object. This is what you are. Once you come to this conclusion, look at what happens to God. If you are not this, you step God back also from this. And if God also is nothing but the witness, the existence consciousness beyond Maya. In that case, you are this and God is also this. And in that sense, in the sense of implied meaning alone, this sentence makes sense. That direct meaning Ishvara and implied meaning is Satchidananda, pure consciousness, Nirguna Brahman. Ishvara, God, and Jiva. Ishvara is equal to Jiva, that's what the sentence seems to suggest. But it's impossible. It just is not true. But what they do is, the implied meaning of Ishvara is Satchidananda, the implied meaning of Jiva is Satchidananda, and therefore Tat Tvam Asi is valid. Only in the sense of implied meaning, not in the sense of what's obvious out there. Huh? If you say, I'm stretching the example again, I have become so fond of that forest in the lake example. If somebody tells that little tree in the forest, in the lake, you and the forest are one and the same thing. The tree will think, I am one tree, the forest is 10,000 trees. How can I be the same? Same thing, the forest is, it goes on and on. I am born and I die. And the forest is so mighty and all pervasive. And I am just one little part of the forest. How can I be the forest? So direct meaning of tree and direct meaning of forest do not work. They are not one and the same. But really speaking, the tree is not a tree. It's the lake. It's the water. The forest is not a forest. There is no forest. There is no tree. It's just the water. In the sense that the tree is the water and the forest is the water, you tree or the forest is correct. Because you are not a tree. Because you are not a forest. Because you are not jiva, individual. Because in that case, the moment your individuality disappears, you step back from individuality into pure consciousness. God also steps back from Godhood into yourself as pure consciousness. What this means is, I stated earlier, that thou art, you and God are one and the same thing. What does it mean? It means there is no God but you. And you are nothing but God. You are not this, or this. You are nothing but God. And God is nothing but you. That's why Advaita has a very radical conclusion. They will say there is no Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Shiva or Maheshwara or anything, Durga, Kali, anything except the you, the real you. Not this body and mind, the real you. And you are nothing but God. You are not a body mind. So both ways it works. Right. So this is the analysis. So there's a question that I'll come to you.
That means it's a redundant statement.
The what?
It's a redundant statement.
It's an identity statement. Okay, why are you asking it's a redundant statement? Because
It's saying A is equal to A.
yes, it's a beautiful question. And it's actually, I didn't go into the technicalities, but it's an important question. You know what you have basically said? A logician, in fact, there are these ancient Indian logicians who are actually dualists, who hate this kind of conclusion. They will say exactly what he said. Wait a minute. So this is all teaching, you know. I know one part I'm leaving out, let me just point out. Vedantic teaching of the Guru is Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Teaching, you hear the teaching, then you argue about it, and then you meditate after you're convinced. This is the process. So we are all in the process of teaching now. The argumentation part of it, which is what the question he has raised, the doubts and the working it out intellectually, that part is very important. And in the book, don't forget we are reading Panchadasi. I'm sticking closely to the verses actually. In the book, the next verse, verse number 49 actually. We have just done up to 48. I haven't forgotten your question, I'll come back to it. Verse number 48. In fact, if I read out the verse number 48, you'll immediately understand. If I read out verse number 48 now, you'll immediately understand. Have you got verse number 48? Yes. See. Maya vidye vihayevam upadhi parajivayo akhandam satchidanandam parabrahmaiva lakshyate. Beautifully said. What has he said? If you transcend Maya in this way means the way it has been shown earlier. If you transcend Maya and you transcend the avidya, the causal body of the jiva, Maya, which is the power or the associate of Ishvara, and avidya, which is the associate or the source of jiva. If you transcend both, you remain with Satchidananda alone. And that is the meaning, he says, of Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. You are Satchidananda. God is also Satchidananda. Basically, you are back to the same teaching. You are Satchidananda, that's it. But in the meantime, you introduce God into the equation and it became a little confusing. Alright. So after this, verse number 49, the next stage of the teaching starts, which is Mananam, which is argumentation. And I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to touch that because that's a real brain fryer. There are many possible questions which may be raised about this, and there are books and books and books about this. Any kind of question you can think of. Like he raised one question, it's an important question, and I will deal with it. But all such questions are there galore, and only one example has been given here, where the questionnaire objects to this very question of Nirguna Brahman, Brahman without any attributes. His question is, every object in our experience has an attribute, has some attributes. Blue lake, a red flower, a tall man, the attributes. No attribute at all. How? It's you can speak about it, but there is no such thing. So that's the question. It's a valid question, and that's dealt with. What is the relationship between attribute and attribute holder? Here's a blue pen. So what's the relationship between blueness and pen? That's the question that will be taken up. And he just touches upon it in one verse, two verses. But we did it once, few months back in a Vedanta society. It took more than, I think, 1.5 to 2 hours to discuss that one verse. It's a real brain fry. I mean, the intricacies they go into. They don't have time here to do that. But it's very interesting. Basically what they do is, the dualist, whose school of thought is actually Nyaya school of thought. It's one of the schools. So that they are realists and dualists. They are very common sense philosophers. And most modern philosophers today would be happy with them. They would be most unhappy with us. Some pure existence consciousness. Please, what are you talking about? But you know what they talk about? The dualists? They talk about this. There are things. Okay, I can live with that. And things have qualities. Okay. And things perform actions. Okay. This is what they talk about. Substance, quality, action, relation. These are the realities of the world, building blocks of the world. And you can understand this. It's actually much easier to understand than this stuff. Here, Advaita Vedanta, we are basically starting off at the peak of the Everest. That's why it sounds so incredible. But we don't have time. The traditional philosophy student, when you study Vedanta traditionally, you would spend years and years learning grammar first, Sanskrit grammar. You would spend years and years memorizing the Vedas. You would spend years and years learning logic, the logic of the Nyayikas and all of that, before you actually open such books. So, but here there is a verse where the Nyayika, the dualist, attacks the non-dualist by saying, substance without quality. In their system, there are substances, and the substances have qualities. And they said, look around you. Look, I actually learned Nyaya from a Pandit, the system of Nyaya. A very interesting experience. And the subject was nothing. Nothing. But in Sanskrit, abhava, absence. Nothing. And it was for 15 days, 5 hours a day. For 5 hours a day, 15 days, we spoke about nothing. And he loved his subject. He loved his subject. I still remember, it's quite impressive. He would come wearing a traditional dhoti, and one thing which would really set him wild was he would carefully write with a chalk, and on a blackboard he would write a Sanskrit verse. And the students were from different universities. I was the only monk. But other students, some of them were young people, and they wouldn't be bothered to take it down with the pen and paper. Just take a mobile, and take a picture. And the Pandit would go wild. They're never going to read that again. It will remain in the mobile. If they at least bothered to write it down, it would at least enter their heads once. Anyway, so he would teach, and it was quite remarkable. They would give him a cup of tea, like this lemonade. They would give him a cup of tea, and the saucer and the teacup, he would hold it. The idea being he would sip and speak. But he would forget. And he would stride around the stage speaking with the cup of tea precariously balanced on the saucer. And our attention would be there to like, is it going to fall? And he would do that for 1.5 hours until the break, 90 minutes. And the tea would be absolutely cold. But he'd be so absorbed in it, nobody would dare to, can we put the tea down, Professor, or can we want another cup? No. He would just walk back and forth with the tea. Sometimes. So Nyaya, their idea of the world is everything has substances and they have qualities. So these, look around you, there are substances and qualities. Now, he's saying that, how can you talk about Brahman, which is clearly something? It exists, right? So it's something, and has no qualities at all. It's not possible. And so what the reply is, the non-dualist replies, the reply is a real, what will I say, body blow. He says, okay, let's look at your system of thought. Substances have qualities. What's the relationship between substance and quality? Let me give you a little example. Here is a substance. and it has a quality. Right? It's nothing very abstract. The leaf is a substance and it's green. Green is a quality because it can be red, it can be brown, it can be anything. And the quality according to them stays in the substance. Where is the substance? It has to stay in the substance. Because quality is real, substance is real, and the relationship between them is real. So we have to call this a relationship. It's relationship. A relationship between the quality and the substance. How does the quality stay in the substance? So they talk about a relationship between quality and substance. There are different kinds of relationships. Now, the non-dualist will ask, so this is real? Yes. This is real? Yes. This is real? Yes. And this relates to things, to real things? Yes. If this is real and this is also real, then these two also must be related somehow. Here. How is the forest related to the lake? You can't say. A Nayayika, for example, wouldn't be able to say. Because the thing is, there's no real forest in the lake. So how would you say? Yet it appears. Alright. So we'll leave it at that. I'm coming back to your question. Your question was, that thou art. If you say, that means this one, and thou means that this one, basically what you are saying, A is A. A is A. In logic, these are called tautologies. Tautological statements. And these statements are worthless. If I say the sun is the sun, the lake is the lake. So, if you say the lake is blue, you have told me something. The lake is big, the lake is cold, you've told me something. But if you say lake is lake, aren't you doing that here? That means Brahman. Thou means Brahman. That thou art. Brahman is Brahman. That's what you said. Is this true? No. The Vedanta says, actually the non-dualists, the dualists, they raise this question is there in dualism. They say, it becomes a tautology, a redundant statement. Hence this cannot be the meaning. If there are different words, that is a different word, thou is a different word, it must mean different things. It cannot mean the same thing. So we ask the dualist, what does it mean? Tell us. That means God, Ishvara as you said, and thou means you, and the relationship is not is equal to, but you are subject to the will of God. Because in Sanskrit grammar you can do that. That thou art. You can split it up in Sanskrit grammar, Tat Tvam Asi, Tad Adhina Tvam Asi. You are a subject of the Lord. The Lord is our king in dualistic religion, and Lord is the Lord of the universe. You are a subject. That's what it means. Two different things. That means God completely different from you, and thou means you separate from the Lord, and the Lord is the Lord and you are the subject. That's what it means, according to the non-dualist, according to the dualist. The qualified monist will come in here and say, look, that thou art means you are a part of God, not that you are God. So it expresses a relationship. God is the whole and you are a part. But you are God, that means Brahman, and thou means Brahman, then it's problematic. What's our reply? The reply of the non-dualist. Non-dualist says, all sentences which have different words, they do not refer necessarily to different things. For example, what was the argument? If the words are different, they must mean different things. So it cannot be non-dual. We want these words to mean one thing only. But the dualist says they cannot mean one thing. They're different words. They'll mean different things. Our answer is, there are certain statements in which different words mean the same thing. Every day we chant, Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarva dharma swarupine, the establisher of religion, embodiment of all religions, to that preeminent among avatars, I salute Ramakrishna. Now look at the words, Ramakrishna, preeminent among avatars, establisher of religion, embodiment of all religions. So many different words, but they all refer to one being. They don't refer to different things. So there are sentences in which you may apply many things, adjectives and so on. They all refer to one thing. So this is such a sentence. In Sanskrit, There are technical terms for this. Their sentences can be in Sanskrit samanadhikarana, vyadhikarana. Samanadhikarana literally means all the words refer to one locus. One locus. All the words, different words in a sentence refer to one locus. Vyadhikarana means the different words in a sentence refer to different loci, different objects. The classic example they give is Dandena Gamanaya in Sanskrit. Tells a shepherd boy, take a stick and bring the cows home. So the boy is different, the stick is different, the cows is different, and bringing the cow home, the action is different. They're different things. Different words meaning different things. But some sentences are like this. Different words meaning the same thing. So this sentence is like that. Does it take care of the redundancy problem? Yes, it does. What's the purpose of saying Brahman is Brahman? The purpose is this. Two things are same. They seem to be different. In order to eradicate the apparent illusory difference, this sentence is necessary. For example, when I say, in Sanskrit there is an example, Soyam Devadatta. This is the same Devadatta. Let's use John. This is the same John. You are the same John whom I saw in, say, New York 30 years ago. I'm seeing now in Vancouver 30 years later. You were younger then. Your hair was black. And now you are older. Your hair is white. At that time you were in New York. And now you are in Vancouver. At that time, that was 30 years ago. And now it's 30 years later. So many differences. But yet I mean it's the same person. Right? In the same way, all the differences, that's God, the ruler of the universe. You are a little human being. So many differences. In order to eradicate those differences, to show that the differences are illusory, I say, you, O puny human being, are one and the same as His magnificence, God. Because God is also Satchidananda, you are also Satchidananda. Because this is something that we do not know. In order to know this statement is necessary. That's what I'm trying to say. In order to eradicate difference. If it was known, and there's some examples are also given. I've forgotten, in Western philosophy there is that the evening star is the morning star. Venus. Evening star? And morning star? There's some, I've forgotten. Yes, there is a example in philosophy. It was one of the primary classes in philosophy, so I don't remember exactly. Two different names for the same celestial body. So you have to say the evening star is the morning star. Because though you are referring to the same celestial body, Venus, but people think they're two different things. Something like that. I've forgotten exactly. That's the answer to your question. You had a question?
Yeah, I think you touched on a little bit the qualified part of all of this. So
Yes.
when the word implies moves to Satchidananda, are we?
Yes.
It's qualified, right?
The implication, the implied meaning takes you from the qualified meaning to the non-qualified Satchidananda. When you have the direct meaning is the meaning of the word. When you say you obviously take it to mean that you, this person. When I say you are sitting on a chair, the direct meaning would be, yeah, I am here, this body and mind, that's what you're referring to. That's what's sitting on the chair. That's the direct meaning of you. But the implied meaning of you is, examine yourself. Am I the body? Am I the mind? No, you go straight back to Satchidananda. So Satchidananda is the implied meaning of the term you. And is also the implied meaning of the term that. That means God. Direct meaning of that is God. Direct meaning of thou is this person. Implied meaning of thou, Satchidananda. Implied meaning of that is God. Implied meaning of that is Satchidananda.
And it's implied because you can't really talk about it.
Yes, it's implied because that's not the first meaning that comes to your mind when you hear the word. And also, it has to be implied because no word technically can refer to Brahman.
And so that's why they talk about in Vishishta Advaita that it's all qualified.
Yes. So is the ultimate reality talkable? Can you speak about it? Vishishta Advaita would say yes. We are going to speak lots about it. And the dualist will say yes, we are going to fill up books and books and books about it. But the non-dualist has a problem. Because the non-dualist has defined Brahman as beyond language. If it is beyond language, yet you're going to use language. The Panchadasi is language. You're going to use language to talk about something that cannot be expressed in language. How do you do that?
You just
How do you do that?
Point at it.
You point it out. Point it out means you can't physically point it out. That's the problem. I can't point out Brahman to you. So it has to be very skillfully approached so that you intuitively grasp it. All of this, you see. What can be pointed out? I can point out the physical sheet, the food sheet. I can point out the vital sheet. I can point out the mental sheet. Point out means for you, I can indicate that's what. Have a thought. Yes, that's the mental sheet. 2 plus 2 is 4. I understand I'm so and so. Yes, that's the intellect sheet. Deep sleep experience, that's the bliss sheet. I'm pointing out. But beyond that, the Atman, I can't point it out. You have to catch it. That's what is meant by implied meaning.
So,
Bring the discussion
Sorry.
to that.
Yes, it is from gross to subtle to subtler to subtler, none of which are actually Atman. They are not Vedanta. We're pointing it out. Yeah.
so in any case, what I'm trying to say is that in using this approach, we are getting into a lot of arguments and discussions
Yes.
for good reasons. Patanjali's Tada Jastu Saripaya Sada.
Yes.
In one sentence, it encapsulates all of it without much argument. It seems like.
So he says, in this way we are going through a lot of argumentation and reasoning and breaking our heads over it. I have bypassed the real discussion which was there. It would have taken 1.5 to 2 hours. But isn't it better, he says, the Patanjali yoga method, you sit in meditation and calm down the mind and the self is revealed to you? Better?
I said imply without asking too many questions.
Without any questions, can imply. I'll tell you what a traditional Vedantic Pandit would say. You want to overcome ignorance with knowledge. And now you are saying, it's too much trouble to go to class and read books and listen to lectures. I'll just sit quietly.
So that's why you have to come to Loon Lake to understand the things. Then you can go back and.
No, there's a point to it, what you're saying. But I'm telling you what a traditional non-dualist would respond to that. Would respond to it. What are we doing? What's the project here? The project is overcoming ignorance. Can ignorance be overcome by going to sleep? But that's what mostly happens when you try to meditate.
Isn't that just ignorance to say that they're going to sleep? In fact, it's very difficult.
Pardon?
Isn't that just ignorance to assume that because they're quiet that they've gone to sleep, that they're in ignorance? Isn't that an ignorant statement? When in fact, a Raja Yogi is really doing something amazing, something he's focusing, he's doing something very difficult.
Yeah, focus. I'm not against it. I understand it. I can take that position also. But right now I'm taking the position. It's good to know the position of classical Advaita Vedanta.
Yes.
They will say, see, your whole idea is to overcome ignorance. Can you overcome ignorance by focusing? Is focusing necessary? That's a different question. Yes. You want to learn something in college. Do you need to focus? Of course. But is focusing enough?
Who will clear the doubts which comes to the mind?
True. Doubts? No. If you say who will clear the doubts, the Patanjali yogi will say you're not allowed to have doubts. You're supposed to stop the doubts because you're not supposed to think. Doubts are thoughts. So no thinking. Their idea is the consciousness is always there. If you settle down the ripples on the surface of the lake of the mind, it should become obvious.
Yeah.
That's their argument. And then the non-dualist will say, it should become obvious then when you fall asleep because there are no ripples on the lake of your mind. It doesn't. Until we Vedantins point it out. It doesn't. It needs to be pointed out. That's the Vedantic argument. You see, they will tear down the Raja Yoga position at many points. Why do you need to quieten the mind down to absolute silence? Because then the self reveals itself in its real nature. That's the sutra, Raja Yoga, the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Then the Vedantin will ask, and at other times when the mind is active, oh, the self becomes identified with the movements of the mind. That's the next sutra.
Yeah.
Vedantin will say, that's not the self we are talking about. Even when the mind is moving, all sorts of thoughts, has the pure consciousness become identified with the mind? Or is it still the illuminer? Is the illuminer of the mind in movement? It's the illuminer of the mind in samadhi. In both cases, it is completely unchanged. Will you say that when the leaves of the forest move in the forest of the lake, when the leaves move, the lake becomes the forest? Only when the forest is absolutely quiet, no movement in the forest, then the lake will be seen separately from the forest. No! This difference is talked about by Madhusudan Saraswati in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, 29th verse, because this question came up, that's why I know this reference. Chapter 6, 29th verse, where Madhusudan Saraswati, who is a non-dualist, he says, the method of meditation and the method of discrimination, these are two paths which have been given by Shiva. He quotes Yoga Vasishta. Shiva gave these two royal roads to enlightenment. Then he first takes up the path of Raja Yoga. There's a whole paragraph there which he mentions. He says, for the followers of Sankhya, literally he says followers of Hiranyagarbha, because Hiranyagarbha is a term that the Sankhyans use for the first guru, for God. Anyway, for the followers of Sankhya, there is no way other than samadhi, because, very interesting, they regard the world as real. The world has to be blanketed out. The world has to be submerged first in samadhi. Then you will begin to realize what you are apart from the world. You and the world have to be seen separately. You see the same example? This one and this one. This separation can be done by samadhi only. You have to experience it. Then you realize, yes, I am not the body, not the mind, nothing to do with this world. Let it stay, I am the illuminer of this thing. Let it go, I still remain. That's what Raja Yoga gets you, where it gets you. You say, fair enough, that's great. Then the next paragraph he says, but for us, he clearly says, but for us, the followers of Vedanta. The followers of Patanjali Yoga are not followers of Vedanta. But for us, the followers of Vedanta, our revered teacher, Shankaracharya, he mentions my name, our revered teacher has said that the realization of the falsity of the world is enough to reveal that you are Brahman. The world doesn't have to be drowned out in samadhi. You've just realized the world is not there, it's just you, Brahman. Let me use that example, beautiful example. You see how powerful that example is, the forest in the lake. What the Raja Yoga says is, you have to wait until dark, when the forest does not appear in the lake, to realize that the lake is different from the forest. There is no forest, here is the lake, so the lake is different from the forest. Otherwise, at day... They're on time. Alright. Otherwise, in daytime, when the forest appears in the lake becomes identified with the forest and there is no way of distinguishing the lake from the forest. That's what the Raja Yoga is saying. Fair enough, good point. But Vedanta says, distinguishing the forest from the lake is possible because there is really no forest in the lake. It's a matter of understanding. It's not that in the daytime there is a forest, in the nighttime there is no forest. So you have to wait till nighttime to realize that it's only a lake, not forest. You have to wait till samadhi to realize that you are separate from Prakriti. That's what Patanjali Yoga says. I've heard non-dualists saying that If it is available in samadhi, you have, they use the Hindi term, लो अपने प्रियतम को समाधि के जेल खाने में बंद कर दिया. You have put your beloved in the jail of samadhi. You have put enlightenment, Brahman, God, Atman, whatever it is, you've locked it up in the jail of samadhi. Only when I go to samadhi I can see it. Otherwise at this time, you are at a loss.
That's not quite true, Maharaj.
How?
Like you said that when you know the sky is actually not blue, you know that, you establish the knowledge, then even if it appears to be blue, then you know that it's actually black, and you can live with it.
It is true, but also there is a problem.
Yeah.
The problem is this. According to Sankhya and Patanjali Yoga, the world is real.
Yes.
So when it's appearing to you, it's a real world appearing to you. And you need to maintain your distance from the real world. You are Purusha. Your whole problem was getting entangled in a real world. Whereas Vedanta says, your whole problem was thinking the world is real. It's nothing other than you. Once you realize when the world appears or does not appear, it's fine with you. Word appears is not fine with a Patanjali yogi. For a Patanjali yogi, the purpose is to retreat into samadhi. Again, I'm taking a non-dualist position. What you are saying ultimately is it's correct, because the samadhi is meant for that knowledge. Once you have that knowledge, one Swami put it this way, I'll stop here. One Swami put it this way, very nice. He says, the essential thing to see is that you are in the audience, you're not part of the play. Now whether it's a play in the open air theatre with real actors on a real stage, Sankhya. Or it's a movie on a screen, Vedanta. That's an interesting question, but in both cases you are not part of the play. That's the thing you have to realize. Right now our real problem is we think we are part of the play. Or not just a play, it's a nightmare for us.
Wouldn't balance, I mean, we go through a lot of torture here. This is torture to me, this is torture. And you lose me somewhere along the way. But it's a matter, the way I look at it, it's a matter of dragging the mind along. It's an active instrument.
Yes.
And it'll do mischief if you don't use it right.
Yes.
And it has to work in conjunction with other methods, the other yogas.
Yes.
That's it. I don't feel the balance. I'll go crazy. I open a philosophy book, and as a matter of fact, a encyclopedia, Oxford, and I can only take about 2 hours of that.
That's more than probably I can take.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. But
Yes.
I keep coming back.
Right.
The mind demands that.
Yes.
And to verify what you're saying, the other on more subjective levels, the logic cannot be denied.
Yes.
I can't put it away. I can't put it away.
You cannot put it away. That's
I
why.
wish I could.
That's why Vedanta is important. If you try to struggle through it by yourself, it's torture. Here, step by step, this is pointed out to you. Once this is pointed out to you, you have reached a place of safety. From that point, from that vantage point, you can look at the mind doing philosophy or not doing philosophy, and you are happy with it.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with you. Alright, let's wrap it up now. This was a good session. Yes.
Thank you.
First let's do the Shanti Mantra, then we can talk. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. I wanted to do the teaching part and then to sort of sidestep the reasoning part. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. But we had a good reasoning session here. So that happened. So the last session we have got today is on the meditation part of it. That will be a different session where we'll not only talk about it, but try to experientially sort of feel it, be in it, sort of bring everything to a culmination. Very good.